How you doing, folks? My name's Craig. I'm from Northern Ireland, and this is my dog, Olena. Olena is from Ukraine, specifically the Donetsk region of Ukraine where I rescued her. How did I end up with a Ukrainian dog in Ireland? Let me tell you a story. But first I'd like to say thank you all for 700 subscribers. Genuinely, I never expected to have one, never mind 700. So thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed, please consider hitting the button, hit the like button, and leave a comment. It helps. In September and October of 2022, I took my car, filled it with humanitarian aid, and drove out to Ukraine, where I spent 6 weeks helping deliver humanitarian aid and evacuate civilians from the front lines. I volunteered alongside two charities, Global Augmentation Group and Base UA. During my 6 weeks there, we conducted dozens of missions, evacuating hundreds of civilians from Bakhmut and other outlying villages, as well as delivering tons, and I mean tons, of humanitarian aid to the most hard-hit areas in Ukraine. And I also made some incredible friends.
Yeah, he's got the move.
So that's the context of why I was in Ukraine. But you're not here for that. You want to know about my dog, Olena. Anything to say? No? She doesn't want to talk to you. Olena is from a village in the Donetsk region of Ukraine called Zarichne. And I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, so I apologise to my Ukrainian viewers. At the time, Zarichne had only very recently been liberated by Ukrainian forces, and when I say recently, I mean within days and weeks. The fighting was still so close that you could feel the thud of artillery in your chest. Many of the buildings around us were destroyed, and the sound of gunfire was commonplace at the time. And that's where Olena's from. Olena is actually named after her owner, who was also called Olena. We first met her owner, Olena. This is confusing. We first met her owner whenever we were conducting humanitarian missions in the area. We were evacuating civilians and delivering humanitarian aid, food, supplies to hard-hit areas. And we were taking shelter under some trees outside a house. And whilst we were waiting on other vehicles turning up so we could all convoy out together, I got out of the minibus to relieve myself in a trench that had been left behind by our friends in Russia. Suddenly I hear a woman shouting at me in Ukrainian, and I turn around and I say, I don't speak Ukrainian, I'm from Ireland, I don't know what you're saying. And she starts laughing and keeps shouting at me. And the translator, Maxim, gets out of the bus and he's laughing. And I ask what she's saying. And Maxim says, she likes your accent. Do you want some tea? And this woman, this complete stranger to us, invited us and our evacuees, which was a group of elderly people, into her home where we could shelter and wait on the rest of the convoy catching up, and fed them all biscuits and tea. And that's when I met the dog, who's disappeared. Hello. We're just talking about you. Anyway, Olena took in a bunch of food that we had and promised to distribute it to her neighbours. Olena was basically staying behind to look after the people that couldn't evacuate or wouldn't evacuate. And she did. We had hundreds of loaves of bread. For some reason. I hope you're ready for this. Hundreds of them, and she took them to give to her neighbours, and we promised we'd come back with more aid and we'd organise a more regular supply drop with her. And we came back 2 days later and we found we found the house destroyed. I remember seeing the rubble on the road, and I remember saying to Misha, our Ukrainian friend, I said, her house has been hit. And I got out and I ran into the yard, and the house was pretty badly damaged, but in the yard I found the lifeless body of our friend Olena. She'd been killed by Russian artillery. She had numerous injuries on her body, and it was beyond my capabilities or anybody's medical capabilities to help her. She had been dead for a little while, and she had suffered a catastrophic bleed, just from what I seen. But her dog was running around the rubble, yapping, terrified. This dog. And she wouldn't come near us, so we left her some food and water. We had evacuees still on board our bus, so we had our priority was getting them out. But we promised to come back, and we did. We came back a couple of days later to see if our furry friend was still there, and she was. And she came straight out to us. And she let me pick her up. And I mean, she has not left my side since.
We're trying to rescue this dog here. We knew the owner. Came by the other day to talk to her about setting up a humanitarian aid center. Found her house destroyed. Her dead in the front yard. And this is her dog. We're going to try to pick him up and take him home.
This dog belonged to the lady that we found dead 2 days ago. We came back for him. It's terrified. Sorry. Come on. You want to go on the bus with our good friend Max? I brought her to Lviv a couple of weeks later, where she received all her necessary jags, got her blood work done. She was microchipped under my name. And then I began the task of driving her through Europe, which was fine until we got to Ireland. We got on the ferry from France to Ireland. We arrived in Ireland and she was quarantined for 3 months. I was told it was because of Brexit, and the officer told me that they didn't trust the Ukrainian vets to be telling the truth when it came to her inoculations. So that was a pain in the ass, but 3 months later, she was there. She was at my house. This skinny little furry idiot. And she was terrified. She used to wet herself several times a day. She was always crying in her sleep. Any loud noise scared her. She hid underneath things. Just terrified. It took well over a year for her to come out of her shell. And she's my best friend. And it was the best I could do. So, that's my dog. That's Olena. Thank you all for subscribing. Be safe. She doesn't know how to play fetch yet. Sometimes she'll chase things, and then she'll run away. Oh! What are you doing? This is her favourite game, just to growl and bark and run at people. Welcome to the channel, folks.